Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today, you notice my background's a little different. This is Susan Finch. I am the proud founder of Binky Patrol. We are a nonprofit organization, and we make blankets and we give them away to children and teens in need of comfort across the country. We don't care what their circumstances are, if they are hurting or need a reminder that someone cares and that they are not forgotten, and they're scared, whatever it is, we are there for them, and if we can, we will give them a blanket. It's a gift, and they're always homemade, so we don't usually go out and buy a bunch of blankets and deliver them. We want them to be from the heart so that the kids can feel the love that comes from our volunteers. And what we allow people to do is start chapters across the country if they have the time, if they're willing to follow our guidelines, because we do have some, because we're a nonprofit, and also if they can gather a few people to help them out, because it's really tough to be a one-person show. And today I'm so excited. I am joined by three wonderful guests. A lot of you already know Andrew Hatchett, and I am so happy to have him here. And I asked him to join us because I think he can bring some questions that people that are not in Binky Patrol already might have, and that I just take for granted that everybody knows. So, we can get some nice conversation going. I have also Dale Gruder, and Dale, how long have you been with us? About 10 years?
Since 1999.
Oh my gosh, a very long time. So Dale has been a part of Binky Patrol, and she went away for a little bit because she was going to school, right? I'm trying to remember why you stepped out for a little bit.
I needed a break.
Okay. Okay, and then so when she was feeling better, the first thing she did was dive back in, and she has done it in such a huge way. She has been supporting and setting up all of our new chapters, which brings us to our next guest. Jean, you are in Connecticut, and you just started your chapter officially, what, 2 weeks ago?
I think so, yes.
Oh my gosh. And Jean kind of stayed on. She was, okay, I'm ready to start. Add me to the site. I'm ready to go. And Jean already has her Facebook page set up. She's getting volunteers. She has more followers than we do on our main group because she is so active and really going for this. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to not only share with all of you about Binky Patrol, but to bring them in with their perspectives of some of the things that people seem to ask before they start a chapter. And we're hoping by the end of this HOA that you will have a better idea of what Binky Patrol's mission is, and your wheels will be turning on, how can I help? It seems pretty easy. And, I wonder if I can join a chapter, or maybe I can start a chapter. I have 2 or 3 people that might want to do this with me, and maybe I have a whole lot more. So with that, I'm going to start with you, Dale. Dale, tell me a little bit about your experience in being in Binky Patrol.
Oh, it's wonderful. Everyone has a positive reaction to it. Most people say, oh, how do you find the time? But things just happen for me. It's hard to describe. I had a personal trauma in my life, and I wanted to give back the way people gave to me. And I called you, Susan, and we started a group here in Mechanicville, New York, which encompasses a huge area because a lot of it is rural. And people started finding out about Binky Patrol and bringing me blankets and fabric, and organizations were contacting me for blankets. I started giving blankets to children who were in support groups for those who have lost a family member. There's a daycare center here in Mechanicville for children in financial need, and they had story time, and I had small blankets, and they got to get their own blanket to sit on the floor in this story circle. And now I'm bumping into people who have gotten blankets in certain areas when I've been dropping off more blankets, and they've shown me theirs, the children have. And this one little girl said, see mine? It's purple. It's my favorite color. And I said, well, I'm glad you got it then. So it's great. It really is. And I'm getting emails from people I've never met before asking me, well, I've got blankets. What do I do with them? I have fabric. Would you like it? And even people in my quilting guild of 250 women have brought me blankets just out of the blue. It's wonderful.
That is a great resource too, a quilting guild. But you're talking about people dropping off fabric. I've been fortunate here in Portland. We have 3 big events every year. We call them Binkathons, everybody. It's where we spend an entire day gathering as many people as we can with as many sewing machines as we can, and we made 195 blankets on Martin Luther King Day. And we had 45 sewing machines going, and teens and all sorts of corporate groups were there on the floor pinning and cutting, and I'll put some links to that event too. We did that as a quick live event interviewing our attendees. But our local hotel here, a gorgeous high-end hotel, they donate their sheets to us. If they get a tiny tear, rather than repairing it, they just save it for us. So these beautiful, high-quality sheets become our backings for everything. And then we get other fabric donated for the tops. So that's, for us, that's how we keep going. And we are primarily a sewing chapter. Some chapters are really into yarn, and they do all knitting and crocheting. Some do a variety of everything. So, they're all different ways to track down resources. You just got to be a little creative, because I do my best not to have to, spend any money, just because, there are other things that I need to spend it on for Binky Patrol, but I try not to ever spend it on fabric, batting, or backing. So, now, Jean, now that you have started, I know you had some really great questions when you were considering starting a chapter, and actually you started it so fast, and then you had a lot of questions. So what has been, so far you've only been in this for a few weeks, what has been let's start with your biggest challenge first.
I guess just getting everything all set up and finding out what to do with which paperwork. Does that make sense?
Isn't that horrible? I mean,
what needs a receipt, what doesn't, and all stuff like that.
Yeah, that is one of the stink parts. When you have a true 501c3, you have to file paperwork, and that is our biggest expense, is for our CPA each year. I hate it. So we have to keep track of Binky's in, Binky's out, who donated what, and they have to turn in online chapter reports, which at least that's all automated. I mean, that helps out. They just fill in some blanks. It does all the calculations for them. But it is one of the stink things that, if you want to stay on the up and up with the government and maintain your status, we've got to fill those stupid things out every quarter. And it is the worst part, I think, of running a chapter. What do you think?
I think I have a handle on it.
Oh, good.
If I may interject,
sure.
When you submit your online report, Jean, make sure you print it first before you hit that button, because you can't go back.
Yeah, I mean, we can open it for you, and we could send you a link and show it to you, but we don't like to make that public, because otherwise everybody would be saying, I don't remember, can you send me the link? And we have to go get it. So it's a lot easier, just print it. That's why we make it a huge button down there. It says print this before you submit. Now, Andrew, as you've been hearing us banter a bit. Do you have any questions about us or about the organization?
I've got a ton of them.
Okay.
The first thing that I noticed the date 1989. Okay. Now I've been
1989.
Yeah, when
96.
96. Oh, I thought you said. Okay. Anyway, you've been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've been on computers forever, since literally before the Worldwide Net started. I was on the Usenet.
Okay.
Why have I never heard of this organization? I've been around quilting people. I've been around crocheters. I have never heard of this group until now.
What a great question. When we started in 96, it was, before really the web had taken off all the way. People were just getting geared up, and so most of our publicity came from newspapers and things. And we started it at the same time as another group called Project Linus, and I mean within the same month of each other. It was interesting though. Their focus at that time was more on cancer patients, and we both banter back and forth, and we used each other for support as we were starting, both founders. So we were both talking a lot, and at that time I didn't have children. I had a retail business, and I was spending about 14 hours a day on Binky Patrol. But that was actually getting mail, answering letters, stuffing envelopes, and mailing it out. And when we got our website in it was in 96, our first website, but it still hadn't taken off. But at that point, some things changed in my life, and as I got a little bit, further along with my kids, I did not have the time to push the publicity. And some of these organizations, I won't name names, but they push really hard for that publicity. And it's like, get it out there and do this and do that and make a hard push to get noticed, and that has its benefits. I understand that. But I also realized after being on Oprah in 96 and Family Circle in 1998, when you get that kind of publicity, careful what you pray for. You need to have the time to follow up.
That's true.
And that's a huge thing. And I made a decision around that time too that I vowed, truly vowed, I will never take a dime from running Binky Patrol. I never want to earn any money from this. I don't want a salary. I don't want anything attached to it, because suddenly then my focus would change because I'd be more worried about making sure I get the money for my family.
Yeah.
And it loses its heart. So yes, we lost some steam because of that, and we grow very slowly, but our chapters stay for a very long time, and they get very involved in each of their communities, because my real goal is, it's kind of an encompassing goal. It's not only to get volunteers to make blankets, but it's to raise community awareness as to the need of the kids that are receiving these blankets and those organizations. Maybe it's a clinic that nobody ever pays attention to because it only serves those people. And so when we start giving them blankets, and if we talk about it in the news or contact the local media or post a YouTube video, Jean, you can do with your phone, post something about a delivery and start to talk about that, suddenly not only do we get known a little bit more, but that organization does, and we're building community.
Okay.
So it's a lot slower path, and it's not as glamorous, and it's not, as well known.
Yeah.
But it's where I want it to be, and I would rather have it there than to be so focused. I've been in PR, longer, more than any of those other organizations. I have a PR background. That's what I do. But I also realize the responsibility and the commitment that goes with big PR, and I can't do that without taking a salary.
Okay.
So.
And my next question is about the materials and how you make these things. From what you're saying, there's a million ways you can get the materials. And probably you've already made contact with every craft shop in every city where you have a chapter. If you haven't, you need to. If you, not just craft shops, material shops, yardage shops where they do nothing but material. They'll get down to a bolt that may have a remnant that is a size that they can't sell for anything else. What are they going to do with it? And yet it would be the perfect size for like a baby blanket or something. If you haven't explored that, I would suggest that you do so. And if there's any national crafting organizations, you might want to try and make contact with them, because if it's you can make contact with their chapter, local chapter, in the same city where you've got a chapter, and you all could feed off of each other. Those are just things that have occurred to me, and I don't know how many of them you are doing, but it's something that could be done.
Right. Our local chapters, that's what we actually encourage them to do, is to get to know their own quilting guilds, their own, craft shops and different. Jan, I'm just going to mute you for just a second until you're all ready to go. There we go. But to get to know the local resources by them, when I was down in Southern California, we were near Santa Ana, where there were a lot of clothing manufacturers. So we would get all the cutaways. And they were beautiful, from companies that would make sweats and other T-shirts and different things. So we had the softest fabric that was available to us. It was crazy how much we had, and that was during a time though pre 1998 and 7 when the crashes all started happening.
Yeah.
Where I don't know who has some phone ringing.
I do. The answering machine picked it up.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. Anyway, so we had at a time, we actually had storage donated to us. We had a 20 by 20 storage unit.
Oh, neat.
We also had Carter Ground Fueling, which supplies jet fuel. And Carter Ground Fueling used to give us 5 free shipments a month that we could ship anywhere in the country, anything we wanted. So we would ship pallets of fabric. This is our heyday, guys. We would ship pallets of fabric to any chapter that submitted a request.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so for a while, and again, though, that was time, because then, 4 of us, the officers, we would head over to storage, once or twice a month, go get the shipments, bag them up, take them to Carter. They would make their pallets, we would label it, and then they would ship it out. But, that was all extra time. It was just a different time. We even had, for a while, St. John Knits. If you're familiar with St. John, the clothing designer,
Yes.
they used to train their staff on the knitting machines, and they would make blankets for us. So there was one year where we had 12,000 blankets made by St. John Knits. And they were heavy and they were different, but it's a St. John knit blanket. Good grief. And so we were shipping those all over the country as well for deliveries, because there were a couple of like tornado things and different national, disasters. And so we were shipping those out. So it kind of comes and goes depending what resources are available. There was, Dale, were you around for the Disney thing? I'm sorry, what? I'm trying to unmute you. Sorry. Were you around for the Disney thing? She's still muted.
She'll have to unmute herself, I think.
You got to unmute yourself.
Hello, Janet.
Janet, thanks for joining us.
Okay. Hi, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, there you go. Were you around for the Disney promo? I can't remember. Or was that during your break time?
Me?
Yeah, Dale.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I was. And after that, because there were so many blankets.
Is that when you quit for a while?
Yeah. I was exhausted.
Disney had a promotion a few years ago that they wanted everybody to volunteer. And so if you put in so many volunteer hours with approved organizations, they would give you a ticket to Disneyland. Oh my gosh. We were bombarded, and not only with fabulous volunteers, but with the ones that were trying to skirt around it. Well, what if I just buy blankets and give you money? And what if I do this? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And our chapters were overwhelmed managing these volunteers and confirming that they actually did it. And it was a crazy time. And we ended up with thousands and thousands of blankets across the country because everybody wanted free Disneyland tickets.
Yeah.
So it was really an interesting time, and it did, Dale, a few people just got burnt out during that time. We almost lost Sue Ochoa too in LA because she's like, I don't want to talk to these people. They're such scammers, or they're this. And you want people to volunteer from the heart, but with every percentage of those volunteering from the heart, you have the weasels that are just trying to do it for other motives, whether it's to gain something, to get a tax write-off, but then they didn't do anything to, the kids can feel those blankets, give it from the heart. They should feel the love. They should. Yeah. They shouldn't feel that you got around the system and that you got something for free. It should be, cat's rattling the banner, great. So, it's giving from the heart. And anybody watching, we want any volunteer that gives from the heart. It doesn't have to be perfectly crafted. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. But it needs to be a blanket from the heart. And take the pins out and make sure it can be washed. Other than that, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. It is just perfect, and a child will match up with it that needs it. It could be a teenage boy that's been living on the streets. It can be a little girl who's been scared that is in her 4th foster home. It's anything that can speak to them to let them know they are valued, they are important, they are not forgotten. So Janet,
I've got a question for you, Susan. I'm sorry, I don't have my video set up right now. I'm on a different computer, but I'm coming in late. Are you at all interested in knitted blankets or primarily quilted blankets?
Oh no, we take them all. Knitted, crocheted, the fleece, the no-sew blankets that people make from fleece. Mm-hmm. and sewn, and I've been clarified by a lot of quilters. I sew blankets. Dale quilts blankets. So quilters and sewers are welcome. However you make your blanket that can make it through the wash and is soft and lovable, do it.
Okay, so washable, soft, lovable, sized. You're talking for little tiny babies, or are you talking?
Yeah, but think about in a crib. What do you want to cover your child? So, we've received some that are like 2 by 2. Those are kind of tiny. We prefer them at least 3 feet wide, just so they can cover over them. And we've even had the crochet. One time we had a whole bunch of crocheted blankets, and we had a preemie ward just clamor and say, please give us those. They drape them over the incubators to cut down on the light and to make it not look so sterile in there when the parents visit their children.
Okay.
So, every size is needed up to twin bed size. And I know for us here in Portland, when we get really big, thick ones, I save them for the mission, because sometimes that's it between the kids and the street.
Yeah.
And when we have an abundance of large ones, we give them to the veterans too, and the adults that are at the mission. We just handle the kids first, just because that's what our mission statement's about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I may, you don't even have to sew. You can get 2 pieces of fleece, and on our website there's a video on how to make tied fleece blankets, and those are really great for the children to make. If you find a daycare,
Yes.
It's a good fine figure manipulation task for them. They can learn how to tie a knot. And in fact, I have a home daycare next door, and we made a blanket. The children drew pictures on squares of muslin, or they colored pictures from a coloring book that I have photocopied or used a Sharpie marker to outline, and then they'd color those and sign their names and just their first name, of course.
But see, Dale, but look at what you're doing right there, and that's one of the things. Kids get it. And to allow a child to make something for another child that could be just like them. Or at the battered women's shelters, we've had blanket projects there, and at one of the local orphanages in Orange County, where we would let the kids, like you're saying, decorate squares, or we had a sponsor that would give us the fleece, and they would do it as a corporate community service day. They brought all the fleece to the shelter, and then they all made them together, and then they got delivered to people just like them. So it was like for the incoming class, you might say, and they would make it for them. Yeah. So giving people the opportunity to give back. And the other thing about our chapter leaders that's has been a gift that I never counted on when I started this was a lot of it's primarily women. We've had some men chapter leaders, but it's primarily women. Some of them have never held a leadership position, held a job, because either they didn't have the skills for it, didn't know how, didn't need to, and sometimes with the economic changes, they're out there now having to look for a job. And they suddenly have new skills. If they've followed our handbook, they know how to do public relations, they know how to organize a group, do basic accounting, they are able to interact, sometimes learn how to public speak, and suddenly they have more confidence to go out and get a job and to be able to earn money for their family. I might lose them as a coordinator, but what a great gift because some of our chapter leaders come, like Dale did, from other circumstances that say, gosh, I want to be able to give back. And so they have a lot of baggage they're bringing with them that this suddenly lifts them above that, and they're able to somewhat leave that behind and move on with their lives. So that's the gift I didn't count on, and it's one of the most beautiful things that I listen to in the emails. I'm sorry, I have to I got to help my family, but can I list you as a reference? And it's like, oh yeah, list us as a reference. You have skills. You've proven. I have your reports. I have your page with all the track record you've done to show you know how to lead, you know how to organize, you know how to follow directions. You are a valuable asset to any company. So that's one of the things that I like.
Susan, I got a question for you. This is Janet.
Yeah, Janet.
Do you have any experience working internationally? The reason I'm asking that is I'm kind of marginally now involved with a school for disabled children in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the disabilities of these kids are cognitive rather than physical. So in terms of motor skills, they can manipulate and they can make things. And one of the things that they're trying to do in their sheltered workshop is teach the older kids, these are the ones who are 18 and up, some job skills. So they're doing soap making, and they're making these little the little plastic packets you get that have a knife and a fork and a napkin in a plastic wrap. And I'm just thinking that the type of blanket making that you were talking about that didn't necessarily require sewing machines, that might be something that they could get involved in. And if you can envision kids with special needs being able to provide something for other kids, what a great gift that would be. But they're in the Bahamas.
Well, I know. So we have a few things that come up there, Janet. One is fleece we always have to buy, and our funds are all very limited. And shipping fleece is expensive because it's heavy. The other thing, because of the filings, to do an international organization, I would have to up my game for accounting and my CPA duties. We'd have to be paying at least double. And we don't have those resources. For every dollar we earn, let's figure the CPA is like $700 a year for us to do it right, because she has to file in a few states. And so if we were to keep expanding that, we're giving her more. Every $2 that we spend on accounting is a blanket not made. So I look at it, that way, and so I've just made a decision to draw the line. I would love to inspire other organizations to start in other countries. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to share my guidelines, my know-how. I just can't share the name or the status with them because I can't be accountable for that.
Yeah,
because even our chapters, if they earn money, it all has to come into national, and then we earmark it as a sub-account for them, and then they have to turn in expense reports with original receipts for reimbursement, and then we cut them a check, so that none of them can have bank accounts, because I can't keep track of all that. And we put all that on our site to cover ourselves, because there might be a rogue chapter or something I'm not aware of, has their own bank accounts. Oh, nobody will know, and the bank let me set it up, and it's for Binky, and it's for my chapter. But that's not okay, because it has to all flow through the national organization. So in answer to your question, as far as we're involved, I can't. And I love the idea of it. But
and there's one other thing, too.
Yeah.
Is being a nonprofit organization and you start dealing with overseas countries, it can really complicate your bookkeeping.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It just, because like I say, with me doing FISO and everything,
right.
It can really generate a lot more paperwork than what you think you're going to have.
Yeah, we were just trying to do Canada, and that was a pain.
Yeah.
And the tax filings, and we tried it for about a year. It's like, I can't do it. We aren't even in the state of Florida with chapters, because the state of Florida runs all their nonprofits through the ag department. And every year we were having to pay a fee to them based on how many blankets the entire country got in and delivered, and if they retained any blankets because they didn't deliver them at the end, or they had some leftover fabric, that they considered income. And we were having to pay tax as a nonprofit in the state of Florida for having income, even though it had nothing to do with our Florida chapters. So I had to dismantle all the chapters, disband them. And I have not gone back there since. We have volunteers that want to make blankets, and sure, I'll send you a little receipt, but I can't have anybody out there fundraising in the state of Florida or operating as one of our chapters for that reason. So that's just silly. That's making it way too complicated to give blankets away to kids. And I just can't waste that kind of energy. I miss the Florida chapters desperately, but I can't do that. So that's kind of where we are on that type of thing. But let's talk a little bit. We're getting kind of at the half hour, and I don't mind going over a little bit. To start a chapter, if anybody wants to give it a shot, I recommend 3 people. I recommend a bean counter that likes to do the forms, somebody that has some tech savvy that can reach out and is kind of the cheerleader, and then the person that can gather up the volunteers, help with deliveries, and maybe even talk to the media. Just because if one person does it all, you can get burnout. Dale, right?
Especially when you have 3,000 blankets.
Right. So, there's a form on our website, and there'll be a link within this event post, and I'll put it on YouTube too. If you're interested, you can fill out this form, and Dale will send you some, our handbook, so you can read through it and consider, oh yeah, that's not too bad. You guys just have to write all this stuff down. It's not too bad, or oh, forget it, that's way too much, and I'm just going to make blankets and send them in. And then once you've made that decision, if you choose to, then we add you to our website, binkypatrol.org. That's B-I-N-K-Y. You can see it down below in my little lower third there, binkypatrol.org. And you can see that's where the chapter form is. You can learn more about our organization and see what we've been up to. We're really big getting involved too with the Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts have been huge for us because of all their Eagle Awards, their Silver and Gold Awards for the Girl Scouts. And sometimes we'll have entire regions of Girl Scouts adopt us as their project for a year or two. In Southern California, we had 1,100 troops for 3 years that were making blankets for us, and we would do one massive drop-off day at their central location. And then we had to get them distributed. So we had to get a whole team to gather them all up out of their shed and then deliver them everywhere. It was a fantastic event. My daughter was in the sling at the time, and and she was just hanging out the whole time, and the kids were they'd come and drop off their blankets and come and drop them off. It was a fantastic community event that the media ate up because blankets are colorful. It's one of those things that you can easily get the media to buy into because it's pretty, it's sweet, and it just makes you feel good. So it doesn't have to be hard. You can volunteer any way you want. You can start a chapter. You can take this idea and say, yeah, I'm not into blankets, but I'm going to do this instead. Cool. Tell us about it, though. We would love to know how we inspired you. And if you're interested in helping Binky Patrol, whether through sponsorship, which we will, brand you all over our website and any events that we have, or just if you feel like helping out, you can, send in a donation. We have a big button on our website that says Donate Now, and you can do that. You can start a chapter. You can look through our chapter list to see who is available in your area and join them. We haven't done a lot yet on Google Plus, Andrew, with our page, just because Dale and I are just trying to keep the website updated. But I have our page, yeah, and wherever our volunteers are, and our volunteers most of the time hang out on Facebook. So we keep those different groups going and help them set up their pages and things. So you can find us in every social media outlet there is, from Twitter to Facebook to Instagram to Pinterest. We're out there. Find us. Join us if you want. It is a lot of fun. Any parting words from any of the panel? Dale?
Just
Jean?
one.
Okay, Andrew.
There's an old saying. Now, as you know, I'm tied up in several things. I've got several irons and several fires. The only thing I can do is send you a piece of paper with my signature on it, but it will be in the mail.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. Janet, do you have any more questions? Or?
I just think what you're doing here is absolutely wonderful, and you've got my head kind of spinning on ways that I can maybe find to help get some chapters or get involved with some chapters here in the Southeast U.S. And so, yeah, this is really exciting stuff you're doing, Susan.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you joined us, too. I was really happy that you were going to.
Sorry I'm late. It was,
don't worry about it. Jean, did you have any parting questions or thoughts or advice?
I'm just looking forward to April 26th because Connecticut is going to rock it.
We're gonna take you down, woman.
Oh no!
We have a Binky challenge going. We each have a huge event on April 26th. So we're in Portland. If you're here, she's in Connecticut.
That's my birthday.
And if you want to join us, we are having a Binkathon where we're gonna at least do 200 blankets, and we're doing it here at our children's school, actually at Raleigh Hills School. And if you want to join us, anybody can show up and help. You just bring sharp scissors, though. You have to have your scissors. If they aren't sharp, you will not be happy.
You are putting that on a live hangout, right?
I am. I'm broadcasting, Andrew. Thanks for asking. Yes, we're going to broadcast live for about a half hour, and I'm going to coordinate with Jean. Jean, with your phone, I can invite you to the hangout,
Okay, and
And
we'll be
you
at
can.
Monroe, Connecticut's town hall.
Okay, perfect.
Our first
Check.
selectman has opened the doors, and we're filling it with blankets.
This is gonna be perfect. So ask too. People can have them drop them off if they didn't want to stay for the event. Have them come
And
in.
that
Add that to your count.
Count?
And bring your phone. And
All
if
right.
you have internet access, if you have Wi-Fi there, we can both be in the film strip.
Okay.
And
Now
then
here's one quick question about that.
Yeah.
As I get my son away. One quick question. The money I bring in, do I hold that at once or send it as it comes?
It depends. If you know it's all going to come in like within a few days or a week or so, just save it and send it all in. And if you have receipts as well that you want to turn in for reimbursement, fill out the reimbursement form, send the money in, and with your receipts, and then we'll just cut you a check and do it all in one thing.
Now, what's the event form you have online?
Yep.
Do I do it on that? The event form?
The event form is just to show that you're having an event, and we'll get it added to the calendar. There is a link in your AC tools for reimbursement.
Okay.
Okay. Dale,
Alrighty.
any parting thoughts?
It's fun. Join us. All I've got to say. And we'll have a new chapter this afternoon from Cape Cod.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
This is great.
We've had that one online.
I think we've had 10 chapters in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
2 weeks.
I don't know what's going on, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Andrew, you had something else?
Can I get a quick plug in? If any of your chapters need help with Hangouts, use the community on Google+. I'm there from 9 in the morning till 11 at night. Just sign in and ask a question. I'll be glad to help you with any Hangout problems you have.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, Andrew is always the cheerleader and the behind-the-scenes support for so many events. Thank you, and I appreciate that you were here today and the great questions that you asked. So we are going to sign out. We went a little bit over, and I don't care because it was a lot of fun, and we had a wonderful panel. Thank you all for joining me today. We'll do a West Coast one probably in the next couple of weeks to get the people that are still yawning and wiping the sleep out of their eyes, and we'll see who can make that one. But thank you again. Remember, visit us, binkypatrol.org, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
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 Bye.